Hi, I'm Dr. Carolyn Wiley, founder of Rose and Pearl Publishing, and this is the Publish Pearl podcast, where we show you how to turn your message into a book that builds authority, attracts the right people, and multiplies your impact long after you've written the last page. Welcome back to the Publish Pearl, where we talk about what it actually takes to turn your words into a business asset, not just a book that sits pretty on a shelf, though we all do love our shelf trophies. I am beyond thrilled for this conversation because today's guest did something that most authors only dream about. On July 2nd, Erica Kingsbury launched not one, but 3 books simultaneously, and books 2 and book 1 of the Juniper Creek series hit #1 new release in their respective categories. So I know, let that sink in. 3 books at once, 2 hit #1 new release. Erica is also the author of Not Alone, God's Presence on the Path of the Special Needs Mom, which she wrote about her journey with her son who has Williams syndrome. And today we're going behind the scenes of the launch, the writing process, and what it actually takes to pull off a 3-book release. I was going to say without losing your mind, but maybe Erica and I did kind of lose our minds just a little bit. But anyway, Erica, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Carolyn. It's so good to be here.
Now, Erica's books released with Rose and Pearl Publishing. So we are so thrilled to be supporting these books and supporting this. And one of the things that you and I talked about before we actually signed our multi-book contract was that you wanted a partner in the publishing process. And I have been so honored to be that partner. This has been so much fun to get to do this with you. And so before we dive into all of that, let's just introduce them to Juniper Creek. So what is this world? Who lives there? And why do they need to know about these books?
Oh, Juniper Creek it's really a very special place. It's actually very much like my own hometown where I grew up and where I now live. In fact, that is really what inspired Juniper Creek. It's a place where you can very easily find a gravel road. You're going to see people waving at you when you drive down the road. You're going to see people stopping and talking to each other in the street because they just know each other that well. It's a place where people are going to call you by name and they're going to know who your grandparents were because they probably went to school with them. That's my own hometown experience. And it's a place where things can go at a little bit slower pace, which I think is really unique this day and age. And the children, the kids, have an opportunity to do things that in some cases might be a little bit of a lost childhood experience, like climbing a tree, playing in a creek, riding their bikes, or meeting each other halfway in between their houses among rolling hills. And instead of, doing things that I think a lot of us moms and maybe grandparents of a certain age remember doing really well. That was my childhood experience too. And so that was really easy for me to tap into writing these books. And I really wanted to create a world that wasn't too distant for kids. Like they're like, what is this place? But it also kind of sparked this nostalgia for maybe some of us that remember those days a little bit more. So Juniper Creek is just a really wonderful place for kids and adults alike. And it is set, it's not actually based on a specific place, but it is set in rural Eastern Washington, which is where I'm from. And so you'll see pine trees, oak trees, apple trees, orchards, and farm ground. And that is very much rural Eastern Washington.
Awesome. And like you, I think that's one of the reasons why we've seen such a big fan base from adults and not just kids, is because the adults who are reading it with their children or grandchildren are really experiencing that nostalgia for a childhood that we had and that we would love to give to our children and grandchildren. I know right now as we're recording, I'm able to look out my windows that are here on the other side of the computer, And there is a house about 2 acres away from us, and the yards just blend. There's no road between our 2 houses. We actually are at the end of the road, and so our 2 houses face each other, and there's, like, 2 acres between us. And they have 4 kids, and we have 4 kids, and the kids run and play between the houses, and if we don't know where the kid is at our house, we can probably look across the yard and see the kid over at the other house. And
Mhm.
it's just the kind of childhood that's described in these books, and I love that my kid is getting that kind of childhood herself.
Yeah. It's really special, and, I think it can be unique for some, but I also think that, when you give kids when you take away some of the modern things of our world right now, kids don't really actually need much.
Right.
They are built in. God knew what he was doing when he gave kids an imagination and creativity. And you know, I think it's such a beautiful thing when kids have maybe a little bit of open ground and
Mhm.
maybe a tree or some water or whatever, and they can just do what they actually know how to do without us intervening. And I grew up that way a lot too. We were on our bikes all summer long, and we would ride out, even beyond the edges of town. And there was the tree that we would meet
Mm,
at, or
mhm.
and those memories stick out in my mind so well. And it was fun to have that, to be able to just play in a way that wasn't monitored by
Yes.
technology or anything else.
Absolutely. Now, the main character, and there's several kids in this series that are main characters, but the one that stands out, the main protagonist is Maggie Hartley. Now,
Mhm.
where did you come up with her and her name and all the things about Maggie?
Oh, I I don't know. Well, we have to back up a little bit, and the whole reason that these books are in existence is really because of a little experiment I did with my son, who was 9 years old last year, so now he's
Mhm.
10. And so at the beginning of last summer, he had just wrapped up 3rd grade, and he was really excited because they were learning how to type, and they were learning how to write stories, and they were learning all about writing the beginning, the middle, and the end. And of course, as a writer, that got me really excited. And for those of us moms who know, like, as your kids get older, it sometimes gets harder to know what to do with them. Like, when they're
Mm,
little,
mhm.
it's like they want you to build Legos. I have spent hours building Legos with my boys, and we're beyond that. And my oldest is so much more independent now, and he's off doing his thing. And so it's hard sometimes to know how to have that time together. So I said, let's do something fun. Let's write a story together,
Mhm.
and let's do it on the computer so that you can get some typing experience and some storytelling experience. And you probably remember this too, Carolyn. I loved this in when I was in elementary school, you would do like a group story, kind of
Yeah.
like you'd add a little bit, like somebody would write a paragraph and then you'd move it along in the next person. So we did that. I sat down and wrote basically the opening scene, which I think was actually like it was like a stormy night, and it was all about Jasper. And it wasn't about Maggie. My son introduced this girl, and I gave her the name Maggie. And I don't even remember why I gave her that exact name, but this story came about because my son and I started this fun project together, and we did it over the course of several weeks. And we kind of left off at the end of the summer. He was turning 10 in December of last year, and I thought, how fun would it be if I finished that story as a
Mm.
surprise and gave it to him? And as I was finishing it, I thought, I really like doing this. I really am enjoying writing what is actually middle grade fiction. I had no idea this would be something I would be this excited about. And so that's where it came from, is really just a project with my son and just wanting to connect with him, do something fun with him. And so we kind of did that together. He was a big part of that with me.
I
So
love that. And so then let's transition to how it became an actual series and a published book, because that was one of the things you and I talked about, is how God called you. You already were a writer, you already had a published book, but then was calling you to middle grade fiction, which was something you never expected. So tell us about that journey.
yeah. So I love this because God knows us so much better than we know ourselves. And I released my book Not Alone in October of 2024, and I loved writing that. And I've heard it said that your first book is like your one of your easiest books to write because you've been holding so much of that, and it just writing Not Alone was so fun. And it was just like I had all the stuff there because I'd been thinking about it for years, and I wanted to do it again. I wanted to turn around and write another book because I want to be a writer. This is just what I want to do, but the ideas just weren't coming. And I thought that I was in the lane of women's nonfiction, like writing to
Mm-hmm.
women, other moms like me. Um, I just thought that's what I was meant to do. And I spent a lot of days praying and asking God, what is it? Why do I keep coming up with these ideas and they just kind of keep falling flat? And I just am not finding anything to write about that I can stick with. And so then this project started with Everett, and it wasn't even something that I had thought, oh, I'll try middle grade fiction. It was just, like I said, something I wanted to do with my son. And then along the way, God really opened my eyes and my heart to like, this is why you're
Mm-hmm.
not going that direct. This is why nothing is working because I need you here.
Yeah.
And this is actually what you're supposed to be doing. And so as I was writing this series and getting it, or the book, the first book, it just naturally felt like there was more to say. And it just naturally felt like there was another part, like a part two. And then very quickly after I started jumping into this idea of part two, it was very clear that there was a part three. And then from there, I thought, well, what if there's more? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And so the series wasn't the plan. Middle grade fiction was not the plan, but it was God's plan. And I want to be wherever God's plan is. I want to be aligned with Him. And so I am way on board with Him and what He wants me to do with the series. And somewhere along the line, I was like, I need somebody in this with me. I don't know fiction. I want somebody with me, partnering with me to be along for the ride. And then I very quickly after that found you on Instagram. And here we are.
And here we are. And it has
Yeah.
been absolutely fabulous. And we have had such a great time collaborating, not just about like, what do you want the interior to look like and what is the cover, but really collaborating and things that an author might typically do. Sometimes I've done, and things that a publisher sometimes would typically do, you've done. And it truly has become a very collaborative project that I have loved sinking my whole heart and soul into. And it has just been so much fun. And one of the earliest decisions that you and I discussed was, are we going to release the books one at a time, or are we going to release them all at once? And we made the absolutely crazy decision that our two blessed husbands both said, okay, that's crazy, but go for it, to release three at once.
Maybe yours
So,
did. I didn't give mine a choice.
what was the reasoning? Tell the audience why these two women decided that this was the right path for these books.
I mean, I think you read my mind, or I think God whispered in your ear because I had been toying with that idea. And I don't really remember the exact conversation, but it was something where we were talking about it and it was like I was saying it. And then you kind of finished the sentence and was like, yeah, what if we did it all at the same time? What if this was three and we did it all at the same time? I'm like, yes, that's what I've been thinking too. So I think it was definitely a lot of work on both our parts. It's been, I mean, I have to say though, Carolyn, this has been amazing because we did those three books in like 6 months, 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote them very quickly. I think I wrote book two in like 10 days just because
Yeah.
it was so there already. Um, and, and so, I mean, we just really worked really hard to get this going. But I don't know. I felt like it just made sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it just made sense because these three books are Maggie's. I don't want to give too much away, but it's really important to our main character Maggie, that these three stories are out there at the same time. I think.
Yes. Yes. She has a story arc that begins and ends in these three books. and then
She
it's going
does.
to carry on from there in a different
Yes.
way.
Yes. And I think that it's almost like these 3 books could be 1 almost.
Yes.
It just makes sense that they're broken up into 3 for our readers, for our middle graders. That would be a huge book for them to read. But I don't know. There's something about it that those 3 books are just meant to be all out at the same time so that you can just go one to the other. And honestly, I think the story grows, and
Mm.
I think that we'll probably talk about this in a little bit, by book 3, you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." And I'm so glad that I read all these 3 in book 1. I love book 1. It's very, very special to me. But book 3 is, I don't know if I should say it yet, but it's pretty awesome too. You really need to read them all at once, in one sitting, preferably.
Well, before we get to that, because I do want to dive into that, let's talk about the difficulty though. Like, we had this great idea, and I still believe, like you said, that it was the right decision. But it takes a lot of work. So you've launched a single book before, and now you've launched 3 at once. What would you tell other authors, specifically fiction authors, about the difference between those 2 and the pros and cons, maybe even, and why we've had to promise we would never do that again?
Um, well, it was for context, I have 3 young kids, and I am a stay-at-home mom, and my youngest is 4, um, and so she's not in school yet, and that was hard.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of late nights, a lot of really early mornings, a lot of, "Just a second, I will be right
Mm.
there. I have to get this out of my head," you know?
Right,
Um, and that's not easy.
right.
I mean, I think any writer understands that it is a sacrifice. You're sacrificing your time because you're not necessarily writing, maybe some are, but I'm writing whenever. I'm not necessarily working a 9 to 5.
Mhm.
My main job is my kids and my family. So this is all extra. Um, and I think that the really fun thing about writing 3 books at once was just, it felt like I was on this awesome ride where I'm like, I'm going
Mhm.
from here to here and I'm not losing momentum and I'm not forgetting. I mean, I can't say that there were definitely times, and thank goodness for Carolyn, because she would say, "Didn't you name this person so and so? And don't we need to, because you do sometimes forget a little bit of the details." But it felt like I wrote all 3 books at one time and I didn't lose the momentum and I felt really into it. Now, that being said, the cons of that is that when I got done with the writing, the editing was a lot, because it's a
Yeah,
lot of editing. And editing can be really heavy feeling when you get stuff back and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I have so much work to do." And it's not just in one book where you're like, "Okay, I have to clean this up in the middle so that it connects over here." When you've got 3
Mhm.
books in a row and you're cleaning something up in one book, you have to go back to the other book and make sure that you've cleaned that up over there too, because they all need to string together and they all need to make sense. And if you make a change in book 3 after you've edited book 1, you're
Yeah.
gonna have to go back and maybe edit book 1 and 2. So it felt sometimes a little bit messy, and, not messy, but, like, kind of just, like, a lot of shifting pieces that I needed to make sure were shifting in a right way, that it wasn't too much to go back. But we did a beautiful job, I think, doing all that. Having you, I couldn't have done this by myself. There's absolutely no way I could have done this by myself. And that was the beauty of us working together, is you were so invested in it and are so invested in it that you got to know these characters so well that you were able to kind of remind me sometimes, like, I don't, of like what's going on. And that was really helpful. So it was wonderful, it was exciting, it was overwhelming in, like, the best way, but I have made a promise to my husband that I won't do it again, so
Yes.
I guess
She
that says
she
it
will be
all.
doing 1 book of the Juniper Creek
One book
series
at a
at a
time,
time.
at least while the
Um,
kids are young.
right, exactly. So let's talk though about launch day. So we launched the books, and they kind of released, just kind of trickled up until the big launch day of July 2nd, when we started telling everybody that they were out there and ready to go. And on July 2nd, because they had been kind of piecemealed out there a couple of days before and just, dropped out there a little bit, but we hadn't said anything about them other than telling people you were writing them. We woke up to July 2nd, and I go and look on Amazon, and I sent you a message saying, "Oh my gosh, Girl in the Barn," which is book 1, is already being listed on Amazon as a number 1 new release. What
Yeah.
was that like?
I mean, I wasn't expecting that, so that was really fun. And Carolyn and I have a time difference, so she's up ahead of me. And so when I got up, I knew that I knew my newsletter had gone out because I had scheduled that to go out early in the morning.
Mhm.
And so I knew that that had already been out. I knew that some people were waiting and expecting, and so they were already possibly purchasing. And so I couldn't wait to check my phone in the morning and see, and that was one of the first things I saw, and it was such a awesome way to wake up to that news and to see that. I think that that's really just, I mean, it's a dream for every writer, is to see their books doing well, to see them celebrated, and to see people purchasing them. And I'm just super grateful that it did that, and I am super grateful for the people behind it that did that, because it didn't get there because of me. It
Right,
got there because of
exactly.
people excited about it. And I have to give a lot of credit to my beta readers,
Mhm.
my launch team, the ARC readers, for just their excitement over the books and for them sharing and posting those reviews and just kind of helping with that hype. So, but yeah, that was pretty special for sure. I'll save that
Ha
screenshot for forever.
Yeah, right, for forever, exactly. So then what surprised you most about how readers have been responding to the book so far? Because people have already been posting reviews, they've already been messaging you.
Yeah, I mean, writing is so vulnerable. Whatever you write, whether you write fiction or nonfiction, you're writing something from your head and your heart that you're willing to put out for other people to read. And I'm on a pretty open book, but even for somebody that's an open book, it's still scary.
Mm.
I was scared to send I was honestly scared to send the books to you, when
Mhm,
I was like,
mhm.
okay, here you
Yeah.
go. I guess you can have my babies. I hope you like them. Um, and then the same with my beta readers, with the ARC team. I mean, everybody, it's nerve wracking,
Mhm,
to wait and see what people have to say about it. Um, and it's like, people like that know you really well, or, like my mom is going to like say wonderful things. But there's a lot of people that I don't know that joined my
mhm.
launch team. And people that I know, but don't know super well, that joined my beta reader team, and they uh, love it. And I have been honestly really just part relieved and part in shock,
Mm,
because as much as I love this, and I know that you do too, it still, like, amazes me the things that people have said. One of the things that stands out to me is one of the girls that did, beta reading for me, her mom wrote me the email and said, that this is now one of her top favorite series, second to, I think, Harry Potter, and I was like, "What?"
and didn't she also send you your first fan mail?
Yeah,
Which is super Erica had a story up
yeah.
showing the cute, adorable picture, and so Erica has even gotten fan mail from some
Fan
of
mail.
her early
Yes.
readers.
This sweet girl who beta read all 3 books for me sent me a drawing of Maggie and her little sister Grace, and then a handwritten note. And it's, yeah, I'm keeping that for forever too. That's framed and in my office for forever. And so, some of the other, now that we've had more people reading it, um just that people are getting what I wanted them to get out of it.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest, I guess, compliment, I think, that I could get about this book series, is that they are picking up what I am putting down. Like, they're like, this book is not just about, this girl who's searching for her sister, but it's actually about this, 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 and this. or that people are saying this is a wonderful book to give to your preteens, your middle grade readers. Um, and not because they know me and they are just my friend, but because they actually read the book.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know me that well. And they're just giving me an honest review. And that has been just really surreal. It's really incredible to see. And I can't wait for them. I know some of them haven't even read book 3 yet. And so I'm excited to see the reviews after all the books have been read, because that's the powerhouse right there, is reading all 3 books.
And I
So,
will tell you, I want to give everybody, this isn't a spoiler warning. It is not a spoiler warning. We are not going to spoil anything, but we are going to give you a parental preparedness warning that book 2 ends on a cliffhanger. So if you don't want to be hearing from your child at 10:30 at night when they should have already been asleep for 2 hours, but they were up reading because it was so good, and then it ends on a cliffhanger and they come running in going, "Mom!" Like, go ahead and make sure if you buy book 2, you get book 3 as well, because you're
mm.
going to want to immediately know, who is this person? And I won't say more than that, but it's like, wait, where did this person come from? What is happening right here? And so you absolutely are going to want to dive right in to book 3. And in fact, we've had some beta reader and early reader feedback. Because again, this is July 5th that we're recording this. It launched 3 days ago. So it's
Yeah,
not like we've had 5,000 readers yet read this
right.
series. It literally has been out there 3 days.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about some of the reactions of our adorable beta readers, the children
Mhm.
specifically, beta
Yeah.
readers that got to the end of book 2?
Oh, they were my favorite to read. I had several. Um, a little bit from book 1 to 2, but mostly from book 2 to 3, that were some of the questions I asked, were you satisfied with the ending? And almost every single one of them said, no, 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 in capital letters. I need to know now what's happening. I am not satisfied because I don't have the next book. I absolutely love that. I love their honesty and their honest answers. And I just wonder if their moms were chuckling while they were typing out those answers. So yeah, I love that. I'm an avid reader, and that's obviously where I get a lot of my own desire for books, is I've been reading since I was little, and I love a good twist and turn, a little cliffhanger. That's what makes reading so much fun, is when you can predict what's going to happen. It's kind of, I mean, it's really way more fun when you're not quite sure,
Yeah.
and something happens, and nothing in these books is happening that's like, oh, is this a scary thing that's going to happen?
No,
It's just
no, 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 no.
real life, and it's just, and it all works out in a beautiful way too. And
Yes.
that's really what I wanted to showcase more than anything, is the ups and downs. Nobody's perfect, but how does God work through that? And what happens if his plans feel like something that maybe we don't want?
Mm-hmm.
Is he still there? Is he still good? And so, those are a lot of conversations that I just have with my own kids in my own house. And so, while I was writing this, I'm like, well, we need to, why not bring that up? Why not have that in this book? And also, I do have parent guides that go along with these books too. I poured a lot into creating these free downloadable parent guides so that you can walk through this with your kid, and have bigger questions, have deeper conversations about what Maggie's going through, Jasper, what the Garcias are going through, and how does that point us back to where God's at in this? It's really, really important for me to help kids understand that, where God is in our lives, and also for parents to feel like they can step in and have a good conversation with their kids about it too. So,
And that was one of the main things that we discussed throughout your writing process, is you wanted these books to be something that moms, teachers, grandparents would love to hand to their kids. Because as a middle grade reader mom, I'm in that same season myself. My
mhm.
daughter's going to be 9 here in a few weeks. That is really hard to find. Like, it's not like there aren't series out there, But
Yeah.
there's not a plethora of these series that we just are like, yay, this would be great to hand to our kids.
Yeah.
There's always just a little something that you're like,
Yes.
okay, I'm going to have to get and close my eyes and squint a little bit
Yeah.
around that thing. And you
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that this caused no heartburn for
No.
anyone handing these books to a kid.
No. No, I mean, my goal is my dream is for my name as a writer to be known as somebody trusted by parents and adults, and to say, "Oh, it's an Erica Kingsbury book." Yeah, sure. Of course. Have fun, read away. And to be to know that I'm putting something in the hands of a child in households that glorifies God and that points them back to truth and doesn't shy away from hard things,
Hmm.
is willing to walk through some hard things, but always points back to Jesus and always points back to hope and redemption, forgiveness, things like that. And I think that's best woven in and not preached. And
Hmm.
so I always wanted to make sure, and it's a little lighter in book one, but it definitely compounds throughout the books. And that's going forward, the plan. But yeah, my son is 10 and he came home with a book. He has like a seventh grade reading level.
Hmm.
And it's really hard because most of the books that he's been reading for a long time are just too easy for him now. And his teacher really wanted him to read into the higher levels, which is great, but also not great. He came home with a book he was very excited about, handed it to me. I opened it. And there was a four-letter word right
Hmm.
there in the middle of the pages. And I said, "No, I'm sorry, bud. This one's not for you."
Hmm.
And it's been hard for us to find books. There's great resources out there these days on the internet for parents like us that are looking for those good books. But yeah, it is not, you don't just walk into the library and
Hmm.
grab a book off the shelf anymore.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Unless it's an Erica Kingsbury book.
unless it's an Erica Kingsbury book, then you just grab away and
Then you
grab
can
what
just
you
grab
want.
it. I
Just take
love
them
it.
all and go spread.
Now, as publishers, as authors, we're not supposed to have favorites, right? I
Mm,
know librarians talk about that too. My mother was a librarian. I have many good friends and former coworkers who are librarians, and it's like you're not supposed to have a favorite. It was really hard for me not to have a favorite in this series. Clearly, having read each of these books probably 5 times a piece at
yeah.
this stage. Um, but there's one that I still cry. Like, if I'm reading a manuscript and my husband walks in and he sees me crying, he's like, "That's that one, isn't it?" And it always is. So, do you have a favorite, and are you willing to tell the audience which one is your favorite?
Yes, I do have a favorite. I have to say, I love all. It's like I can't say that I love each book because it's
Mhm.
it's kinda like your kids. They're all different for good reasons, and Girl in the Barn will always be so special to me because that was the one that started it all. And that was the one I wrote. Well, I didn't write that one with my son because it's a different version than what we did
Mhm.
together, but it began as that. So it's so
Right.
special to me. And that's the one I remember vividly reading out loud to my husband because he sat and listened to me read each of these books to him, even when he was tired. And he was on the edge of his seat and he was like, what is going to happen next? And so that one's very special. Road Home, I really love the way that one ends too. And there
Mhm.
are some scenes in that one that get me a little bit too, but Uprooted, book 3, is my favorite. And it's just my favorite for a lot of reasons. I think because it is the final piece of this main beginning story of the Juniper Creek series, that it does tie things up in a bow. And it's not just that that is the reason, but the way that it's done. There's a lot of things. I love a good full circle moment, and I
Mhm.
love symbolism. So there's something that happens in this book, and it really mirrors what's happening in our Miss Maggie's life.
Mhm.
And she kind of can see that she feels something. And I don't want to spoil any of that, but I love all that. And so it gives me goosebumps when I read a book where it's like you just see these like full circle moments and things like kind of falling into place and things being made new. And I'm a very sentimental, nostalgic person. And so, like there's just certain things that I'll do where it's like, well, I'm using this not because it's my favorite, but it's because my great grandmother used it. It's like
Right.
those kinds of traditional things are my things. And so that's a lot. There's a lot of that in Uprooted. And there's a lot more, I think, faith elements too, and deeper themes of faith. And so those are my reasons. What are your reasons though? Why do you like it?
So
I know you
it,
do.
yes, Uprooted is my favorite. I've told her that. Now, I will say, but the cover of Road Home is my
Oh,
favorite. Road Home's cover to me is just
beautiful.
stunning.
It
I
really
am
is.
like, it's my favorite by
It's
far.
everybody's favorite. It really is. Road Home is,
Yeah,
I
we
think,
put that out there and asked what everybody's favorite was, and it won by a landslide.
it's a
And
stunner.
people love the other two. The other two are
They do.
just as beautiful,
They
but
are very
there's
nice.
just something about that one that is so pretty.
Yeah.
And we haven't shared yet, but y'all have to stay tuned. Go sign up for Erica's newsletter because we've got hardcover shelf trophy copies coming soon that are even more beautiful than the paperbacks. And I cannot wait for them to be on the shelves. And so that'll be probably about
Really
2 or 3
excited
weeks.
about the hardcover because to me, Juniper Creek, even though it's modern, it is like classic. And
Yes,
I wanted something that looked like that. So they're gonna love it. They're beautiful.
they are absolutely
But
beautiful. I
why
cannot
do you
wait for
love
them to be out.
why do you love Uprooted more
So,
than the
yes,
other?
why do I love Uprooted? Because of those same reasons, and, like, the tears that I cry every single time I read it are happy tears. They're the tears when you're watching a movie and it just hits you in the gut because it's just so heartwarming, and you're just like, "And
Mhm.
the mom, and they came and they hugged the mom, and the mom," like, that kind of reaction to a movie, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
That's the
yes.
reaction to it's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. That is so amazing. Yes, thank you." You know, it's that reaction. And so it's just so good. And there is a character that is introduced. Her name is Vanessa, but that's all I'm going to tell you about her that I just love to hate. Like,
Mhm.
and I love a good character that I love to hate. And she has some redeeming qualities, but she also has some qualities that you're like, mm, she's not my favorite cup of tea, you know? And I love that kind of a character.
Mhm.
And so I just enjoyed that introduction of her
I
into the book.
I think that the characters have, book 1 is really Maggie and, we meet a little boy, Jasper, and the family. That's really that, and I think that the big driving of book 1, the driving force is just like, um, Maggie's journey to go find her sister, and that's really it, and, that's a page turner, I think, in itself, but then we get to meet some of these characters, and one of my favorite characters is Lucy. Um,
Yes, Lucy
she's
is
a kick in the pants.
adorable. She
And I
is
can't wait to
hilarious.
bring her into more as the books go on, but I love Vanessa as well, and I think those of us that grew up with, like, The Parent Trap, um, It Takes Two with Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen, like, you'll recognize Vanessa as a familiar villain. She's not really a villain, but she's kinda that, you know,
Exactly.
you would want her
The
in your store.
foil that the protagonist plays against.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Okay, but this trilogy that we just released is
Mhm.
not the end of Juniper Creek. We actually have more coming. So tell us what's in store for Juniper Creek.
Um, well, I am so excited to continue this series. I always knew early on that I had more stories to tell in Juniper Creek, and I wrote a list of those stories. Ironically, book 4 is none of those. It's something new, and I love that. So I have a lot of stories to go with this series. I think there's lots of adventures to be had, some new things, maybe even a mystery. Um, book 4 is going to be really different because we are jumping away from Maggie's main storyline. How we began the series, and we're kind of going into what I think will be more standalone books.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you're going to want to read books 1, 2, and 3 together, like I said, as quickly as possible, the same time. And then book 4 and beyond, I think that you wouldn't necessarily have to, at least the way I'm thinking it's going to go, is that they're kind of going to be their own thing.
Right.
It'll be, this is happening in book 4, and then book 5, this is happening. There's going to be some new characters introduced. There's going to be some fun things, and I cannot wait to talk more about that because it's going to be really fun to write. It's going to be a stretch. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge for me. But as Carolyn's getting to know, I like to bite off more than maybe I should at one time.
We have that in common, but that's what makes for an awesome pair. And I will say with this fourth book that's coming out, what I have loved about this is that there are way too many series that stop at the happily ever after. It's like, the fairy tale and the princess marries the prince and they live happily ever after. Well, there is kind of that happily ever after moment at the end of book 3.
Yeah.
But what's so cool is that's just the beginning then of the stories for this group of kids that you meet in Juniper Creek.
Yes.
And you get to see what happens after the happily ever after.
Yeah. And if you have book 3, all you got to do is go read the very last, well, you got to read the whole thing, but pay attention to the last chapter and the epilogue, and I'm setting you up for book 4. So
yes. And it doesn't feel like a cliffhanger. You don't feel like, you don't feel like, what? But you definitely are like, ooh, I can't wait. It's more that kind of a thing.
It is. Yeah, it is. Which is intentional.
Yes, it is. It is. All right. Well, let's for a second switch gears as we come to the end of the podcast and talk about writing in particular. So, if our listeners are sitting on an idea for a series, but they feel overwhelmed at the scope of it, what advice would you give them now that you have 3 in the series released?
Okay. Well, first of all, you just get a hold of Carolyn and she will take it from there. But no, get a hold of Carolyn. That's number 1. One of the things that stopped me from writing fiction because God has equipped me to do this, but I didn't set out to do this. This wasn't something this wasn't on my bucket list. This wasn't my plan. Being a writer, yes, being a middle grade fiction writer wasn't it. But he's been equipping me for this long before I ever realized that I was already walking on this path that he had laid out for me. And one of the things that I didn't tell anybody this, but I always had fiction ideas. Like I had book ideas, but here's what I thought. I thought there's no way that I could do that because do I have the imagination for that? Like, how would I ever create a world that doesn't exist? Like, how would I ever do that? And for a very long time, I would get ideas because I love stories, movies, all the things. And I have an imagination that I'm proud of right now. But for a long time, I was like, I got to keep that secret because I'm an adult and I probably don't need to be pretending that I know how to do any of that. And what God knew is that I did know how to do that. So I think that he got me headed in the direction before I realized, oh, I'm headed in this direction. And so one of the things that I think was really important was to take myself seriously,
Yes.
to not be afraid of what feels like a God-given gift. And I think part of that honestly was having Carolyn on my side, because when somebody invests and believes in you too, then it feels a lot easier to just go down that road. And so I don't honestly think that you should do writing alone. I know that writing is a solitary experience a lot of times, but I think that you should absolutely be plugged in to some kind of group. Carolyn offers that, working with somebody like Carolyn, because You need that. You really do. I feel like it's kind of like bumpers on the bowling alley. Like if you're not sure where you're going, those,
Right.
you got to have something there to keep you on the right path. But take yourself seriously and don't do it alone. I don't know that I do not think that I would be sitting here right now if I hadn't taken myself seriously, trusted the Lord, and gotten in touch with Carolyn because she and I, this whole thing snowballed from there. But yeah, if you're sitting on a big idea and it feels like too big, well, friend, it probably is, or just you, but your God is so much bigger than that. And when you have somebody in your corner, it becomes much more manageable. And one of the biggest pieces of advice that I got that has always helped me early on in my writing career was you don't eat an elephant all at once. You eat it one bite at a time.
Exactly.
So start
Exactly.
with a prayer, trusting the Lord, writing down some ideas, and then get a hold of Carolyn.
I love that. And as a traditionally published author for over 20 years now, the incredible team that I work with when I'm and my co-authors, I have 2 co-authors that I write with. If it wasn't for them, the books wouldn't get done. Like,
Yeah.
they just help bring out the best in me. They help move the projects forward, and it just is so great. It's the best way to write is in that group setting, which is why I created Christian Writers Arise so that other authors had that same level of support and collaboration that
Yeah.
I have with my incredible team that I work with my publisher.
I love that part of it. And I have to say, when I reached out to you and you said you offered a group thing, I was saying to myself, and I think I even said to you,
You
I don't
did.
think I need that.
You
I
said,
don't
"I
think I
don't
need
want a group." It'd have to be one-on-one, and I just
yes.
grinned because I knew better, but I didn't push you.
Yes. And like even in that there's been weeks where I haven't really been writing where I'm like, I just want to be on the call because I just want to know what they're doing and I just want to be there and I just want to see them and I just want to, be a part of it. And the writing the co-writings on Friday mornings. It's really early my time. And I haven't done that in a while because I haven't been really in the thick of writing in a while, but I loved that too. I'm like, gosh, I really loved this. And I was like, I'm not going to need that. But no, I did. And so, not being alone with your big ideas is so freeing because when you're alone with these big ideas, you will talk yourself out of them.
Mhm.
When you open yourself up to having somebody come alongside you, they're going to stop you from doing that. They're going to say, no, no, no. God put this on your heart for a reason and let's do it. Let's figure it out together. So it's really important not to do it alone.
Absolutely. And we are so excited that we are going to be onboarding by the time this podcast actually releases, we're going to have onboarded an intercessory prayer team for our authors at
Oh
Rose
my
and Pearl.
goodness.
And so I am so, so excited to be able to share more with our community and our authors about how that's going to work and the amazing people that have said yes and stepped up to be that team. So I'm
Oh, that's fantastic.
thrilled for that. Now, for fans of the series, what is the best way that they can support you and help others find the books?
The best way is purchasing the books and leaving a review on Amazon or Goodreads, and then also telling people about them, sharing them with somebody, whether that's in person or over social media, or maybe you're a part of a group of whether it's moms and you have similar kids, you're in your age group, or maybe homeschool co-op or um, something like that would be awesome because these books I think have a real opportunity for kids and their families, and the parent guides that go along with them present a real cool opportunity for even like a book club
Hmm.
that you could do with your kids, or even like in a homeschool co-op setting. So I think that there's lots of great ways that these books can be used, not just alone, and they could be even read in a group setting. So definitely go grab your copies and leave some reviews and tell a friend.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I have loved is seeing the support that the other authors and Christian Writers Arise have given you, because we
Yes.
never ask each other to be on our launch teams or
No,
to be
no.
beta readers and stuff. Now, if someone asks you, say, "Hey, I want to be on your launch team," it's fine, but we don't ever
Yeah.
ask each other to be on our launch team. And yet so many of them were going and grabbing your posts and sharing it on their page when they had never been asked to do
No.
that.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
that was just the support that y'all give each other. It was
yes.
incredible.
Yeah, and I can't wait. I know we have another author whose book is coming out at the end of this month, and I've been in groups. I think she was a little, I don't know where we were at in the process, but I'm so excited to read her book, to share her book. And there's so many others that so many amazing books coming out of this group. Just a treasure, really. So, yeah.
I'm so excited to be sharing those. And Erica, I just want to thank you so much for pulling back the curtain on this one. 2 number 1 new releases on a 3-book simultaneous launch. Girl, that's not luck. That was strategy, your stamina, and an incredible story that God gave you that was worth telling. And if you want to step into Juniper Creek, we're going to have links to all of these books in the show notes. Go to ericakingsbury.com. You'll find information about all of the books as well as her other book, Not Alone. So if you're a special needs mom or know someone who is, please go and look at that as well. It's an amazing resource. She's looking out the window at her kids. I can tell she's such the mom, even as the writer, which is just incredible. And I love that, which is
Moving
why
around.
you can trust these books. And we want you to go and give the parent resource guides so that you can walk through the books with your kids. And I have to say, if your household as a listener is anything like my household with these books, my mom and I have devoured the books before the kids even got a hold of them. We were like, no, me first, me first. And so,
Has your mom, has she read all the books?
she's read the first one. She hasn't yet read the other 2. And
You
she
have
was
to tell
just
me what she thinks about
blown.
the 2 and
She was
3.
blown away. She was a children's librarian for many years when I was a young child. And so she always was reading the Newbery Award winning medal, books to me. And she just was in love with this series. So she was telling me yesterday, I haven't bought my books yet. I've got to go get them. So I'm sure she'll have them in hand before this even airs.
Awesome.
Now, if you are also listening to this and you say, I have a series in me too, but I don't know where to start, I appreciate Erica so much, but I would absolutely tell you, contact me. Let's set a time to talk. Or some other there's so many amazing book coaches out there. Don't do it alone. And if you and I visit and I don't think that this is the right fit for you, I'll be the first one to tell you. So don't hesitate to reach out and have that conversation, because your book is not just a story, it's the infrastructure for a movement that you're already building. Just like Erica said, she's building a movement of middle grade books that parents can trust without having to worry about what's inside or having to read them first before they allow their kid to look at them. So until next time, keep writing, keep publishing, and keep promoting these books like you only have today to make it go to number 1 new release, because sometimes that may be what you have. Erica, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun.
Awesome. I will see you all next week. You're listening to the Publish Pearl podcast, where your message becomes the book that opens doors your hustle never could. This podcast is produced by Rose and Pearl Publishing and powered by peppermint mocha lattes and the slightly aggressive belief that your book is not optional.